So, do you remember Jón Þröstur Jónsson, who disappeared in Dublin?
Yeah, I do.
What do you remember about it?
I just remember I think he was gambling and then just went for a walk without telling anybody and just disappeared and has never been heard from again.
It's late November 2023 and Liam and I are on Laugavegur, the main shopping street in downtown Reykjavík. We're asking people if they remember Jón's story, partially because it completely disappeared out of the media over the last few years.
Why do you remember, you think?
Because it was odd. I mean, there are so few of us Icelanders, so I think we look out for each other. That's probably one part. And if somebody goes missing, it just touches us in some way, yeah.
It's worth telling you how this all started out, how Anna and I came to work together on Jón's story. And that goes back to May 2023, when I'd come to Iceland for the EBU Audio Storytelling Festival. For lots of different reasons, I'd never forgotten Jón's story. So, when I met Anna at the festival, I asked her if she remembered Jón too.
And I did. Liam and I got to talking, one thing led to another, and that's how we came to downtown Reykjavík, asking random people on the street if they remembered Jón.
Do you remember Jón Þröstur Jónsson?
Yes, we remember, yeah.
What do you remember about it?
That he went for a walk and just disappeared.
That he went playing at a casino or something. They thought that he maybe had some gambling debts, but somehow no one knew anything. And then the story kind of just disappeared.
Yeah, it's so strange that people disappear.
Yeah, and no one knows, and then it just kind of, it's also sad that they kind of give up looking for them, or at least that we know of.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear about Jón Jónsson? He's an Icelandic man who disappeared in Dublin.
No, yes.
To make a podcast series.
No, I've never heard about him, to be honest. What's the name of your podcast?
From RTE in Ireland
and RÚV in Iceland,
I'm Liam O'Brien.
And I'm Anna Marsibil Klausen.
And this is Where is Jón?
Episode 6, The Notes.
If you look for media coverage about Jón from the end of 2020 through to the 5th anniversary of his disappearance in February 2024, you won't find anything. Jón's story had largely been forgotten. The world moved on, but his family couldn't.
We are told time heals all wounds, but for families of long-term missing people, time is the enemy. The longer someone is missing, the harder and harder it gets.
For Jón's partner Jana, the COVID pandemic through 2020 and 2021 came as a blessing in disguise because it stopped her going back and forth to Ireland, forcing her to refocus on herself and her family and to rethink her relationship with Jón.
Yeah, I have, sometime I have to just stop and accept the reality.
I noticed when you introduced yourself,
Yeah.
you said you were his ex-partner.
Yeah,
Ex-girlfriend.
I am. That was a really, really hard step to take and took a long time.
Did it feel like you were deciding that he was dead or that you were deciding to break up?
More like I was breaking up with him because I haven't decided he's dead yet. So, as I told you before, my mindset is I want to believe that he's alive. I really know that is probably not the case. But when I don't have any confirmation, my mind is just better. It's like I can live with that.
Jón's disappearance changed his family, changed their trajectory in life. It also changed their identities and who they are, especially his children, who are now the children of a long-term missing person. Nina, Jón's ex-wife, she sees it in their daughters every day.
They are not the same persons. I'm not the same person. But they are definitely not the same persons than before. This has changed all of our lives, and I don't think they will be the same. They had to grow up like in a second. The worst case scenario can happen. They know parents can die. They know parents can be murdered, maybe disappeared. They're constantly afraid of losing me. I feel that. And they say that. They are scared of me going or me dying or whatever.
And in yourself, what do you think has changed within you?
Maybe a little bit trust in the world, and I know I can't control anything. Jón was a little bit our safety net, safety zone. If this can happen to him, anything's possible. I'm not as trusting, I'm not as happy. We are sad. We are disappointed in life a little bit. Yeah.
As those first years began to slip by, it wasn't just that Jón's story disappeared from the media and all public appeal stopped. Behind the scenes, the Garda investigation into his disappearance all but stopped as well. Towards the end of 2020, Detective Chief Inspector Einar Guðberg Jónsson, who had been dealing with Jón's case in Iceland, told Jón's family that he was preparing a submission to Garda to gain custody of Jón's case.
This was a really unusual step to take. We're not clear on what happened next. Only it appears that nothing happened. In January 2021, Jón's sister Anna Hildur contacted the Icelandic detective leading Jón's case to ask if there was anything happening with the investigation. And he replied,
"Hi. Yes, there is some work going on. Can't tell you anything further at this point, but as soon as I can, I will let you know."
We don't know what that work was, but the family heard no more. These moments of false hope, they eventually became too much for Jón's sister Þórunn, who took a step back from everything from her home in Gran Canaria.
At that time, I kind of decided to step away because it was like creating so much anxiety for me and stress. And also because I was so far away from everything, living here, so I'm not in daily contact and I don't like see my family that much. And I'm running a business and I have a family and, you know, everything. So I said, I need to step away from this. You know, I'm not gonna, let's just talk about other things that have nothing to do with this. Because every conversation in the family was revolving around this and I needed a break from that. So I stepped away from everything. So there were like 2 years where I didn't really discuss this with my family.
Later that year, in 2021, members of the Garda team who had led Jón's case retired and moved on. Not long after, Einar Guðberg, the Icelandic detective, became ill and tragically died from cancer. And although Jón's case remained open, both in Ireland and Iceland, there was no longer any forward momentum around it. Jón's mother, Hanna.
Nothing was happening. It's like there's nothing happening. There has to be some end or something like, and we are all waiting for it, I think. I am waiting for it. It just give me something, answer something, or just some answer. But then again, there are a lot of cases you never get the answer, and that you have to be prepared for. That's what I've been telling myself all these years. There are a lot of people who will never get an answer, and think about that, Hanna, I say. Think about that. Maybe this is the case. You never know. Can you live with it? You have to. You have to find a way. You don't have any choice. If you say, okay, I will never have an answer, then you probably have to say to yourself, okay, there was no answer today. You just go on with your life. If something pops up, you take it. Like, you start again, you know? Or what can you do?
By the end of 2021, the man we're calling Alex, who, as we outlined in our previous episode, is potentially involved in Jón's death. Alex was now in prison in another country.
Back in prison, we should say. Having a string of previous offences, the judge said he didn't believe there was a realistic prospect of rehabilitation and sentenced Alex to a number of years in prison for his latest crimes.
Fast forward another 2 years to 2023, and nothing had seemingly changed in Jón's case. But unbeknownst to everyone, Gardaí were working on some new leads behind the scenes. That 2023 Christmas season brought Jón's loved ones happier times, with a new addition to the family.
Jón's brother Daniel and his wife Natalia, who had met and married in Dublin in 2019, they had just had their first baby, a boy.
Who do you think he looks more like?
Well, I won't say he looks like me, but he has a little bit from Danny also. I mean, this part of the eyes. For now, he has blue eyes, but we don't know. Might go brown or green. We don't know.
And you're so strong.
Yes. You love to speak. Yeah.
And smile.
Throughout December 2023 and into January 2024, we'd been in contact with Gardaí, telling them that we'd been recording on Jón's story in Iceland and that we were hoping to record with them to get an update on Jón's case. But in late January, we received an unexpected reply from them.
Following consultation with the investigation team on the disappearance of Jón Jónsson, as this is very much an active and ongoing missing persons investigation by Garda Síochána, we are not in a position to participate in any way in this documentary at this time.
To be totally honest, we were surprised by this response. Why would an investigation that appeared dormant for a number of years now be classified as very much active and ongoing? Of course, we didn't know what the Gardaí knew. We wouldn't have to wait too long, though. Jón's brother Davíð and sister Anna Hildur were coming to Ireland with me, and together with Liam, we planned on recording in Dublin around the 5th anniversary of Jón's disappearance.
Dear passengers, welcome to Dublin, where the local time is 20 minutes.
We alerted Gardaí to their visit, who then immediately made plans to meet with the siblings as soon as they arrived.
Members of the Garda investigative team now working Jón's case met with David and Anna Hildur at the Bonington Hotel on February 8th last year to inform them of new developments. We recorded with Jón's siblings directly after that meeting.
Okay. Yes, okay. Okay, so we met with the Garda, the police now, just a few minutes back. Basically, we went through everything. They told us about 2 contacts that have been made, 2 letters. One of the letters being sent late last year that implies that Jón's remains are buried in a certain part of Dublin, which they found
What's the
credible.
name of the lake? I don't remember the names.
No, they will tell you the name of the lake,
Yeah.
but in any case, they are conducting a search on Tuesday. Yes, they were gonna tell us or something. I don't know. It's timing is super strange, but in any case, the letter came in, and they see this, regardless of the letter, as a murder investigation.
This was huge. The first new information in 5 years. Everyone was taken aback. So let's back up a bit and see if we can get a clearer image. Okay, so can I get the letter thing straight? So there are 2 letters, one of which is sent to the police and another that is sent to a priest.
Yeah. One was written in computer and the other one was
written in a computer. Just 2 sentences, something like that. He is dead or something.
He is deceased.
So, and they couldn't really make anything of the letter according to them. But then they got the other letter late November, handwritten letter saying that he was deceased and that his remains were buried in a certain part of Dublin.
When we first found out that the second anonymous note was handed into the priest's house in Dublin in late November 2023, we couldn't quite believe the timing.
Because late November 2023 was the exact same time Liam first came to Iceland to start recordings with me around Jón's story. Could we have inadvertently touched a nerve and someone in Iceland told someone in Ireland, who then rushed to hand in that second note to the priest's house?
Since Jón disappeared, his case remained within the detective unit at Santry Garda station. New members were now assigned to lead Jón's case, including Sergeant Damien Beakey.
February of 2019 resonates in the Santry Detective Unit, regardless of if you've got new personnel in there. Obviously, a lot of the detectives back in 2019 have moved on or they're retired, but it's passed over. The investigation has passed over to new members, new detectives. They're tasked with carrying out inquiries as part of this investigation, so they're thrown into the middle of it. So they're well aware of everything that went on back in 2019 and subsequently to 2024, 2025. It is fresh in the minds of everybody in Santry and Ballymun and Garda in North Dublin.
The first anonymous note was a short, typed note, printed on a single page. It was placed into an envelope without any stamp and put into a postbox with the address of Ballymun Garda station. And it arrived there in late summer 2022.
It was handed in to Ballymun Garda station. The content was assessed. I can't say much about what was in it because obviously the investigation is still ongoing and inquiries are still ongoing.
This first anonymous note did mention Jón Jónsson by name. It also mentioned a wooded area and a body of water, but not much other detail. At this stage, Gardaí decided against informing Jón's family about this single anonymous note.
For families of long-term missing people, the not knowing, the imagining of what could have happened to their loved ones, and the thoughts of what if things had been different, that's something Dr. Sarah Wayland has a lot of experience with.
I think that the what-if scenario around missing persons is really integral to understanding the trauma and the uncertainty of an ambiguous loss. Because the what-if plays into those imaginings, where we're not just imagining the actual trauma of what might have happened to the person, but our imagined trauma of what might have happened to the person. All of the weird and wonderful ideas about where they might have gone, what might have happened to them, who might have taken them. All families of missing people and friends of missing people live with the what-ifs.
Fast forward to 2023, and a second anonymous note indicating where Jón's remains could be located was dropped into the Catholic priest's house near to Ballymun Garda station. Remember, this was the note that appeared to coincide with the week Liam arrived to Iceland to begin our first recordings for this series. We've managed to find the priest who received that second anonymous note, and Liam spoke to him just a few days ago and called me after.
Hi, Liam.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
So, in terms of the priest, I've spoken to the priest.
Okay.
And it wasn't late November he received a note.
What? Okay.
So
what does that mean?
He moved out of the house. He moved parish and he was moved out of the house in September 2023. So it was at least before then that he received the note. I contacted the members of the Garda investigative team this morning just to cross-check the dates. If you remember, they had previously said that it was late November, and we thought that could be linked to us because that was the time we started recording on around the story in up in Iceland with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, it turns out that the note was handed into the priest's house at the end of August 2023, the 30th of August. So when the guards got the note, they bagged it, they took it away for forensic analysis. They took the priest's fingerprints as well to rule them out. But they got the note back then from headquarters after it had gone through DNA testing and all that. They got it back to the station in late November 2023. So that's where the late November thing comes into play. So, but actually,
so it's not because of our investigation.
Exactly. So it had nothing to do with us.
Wow.
Which kind of strengthens, I think, the authenticity of it, because, you know, nobody knew we were looking at the story then, and nothing was public. We hadn't spoken to anyone, only a couple of members of Johan's family at that time. But the other kind of big thing, actually, that it shows up is that the note was handed into the priest's house, handwritten note, 30th of August 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the exact date that the first note was handed into or received into Ballymun Garda station?
No.
The 31st of August 2022. Exactly 1 year earlier.
What does that mean?
Well, one thing it means is it's the same person.
Oh.
It's the same person.
Wow.
It was after the second anonymous note was received that Sergeant Damien Beakey and his Garda colleagues brought a renewed energy to Jón's case, because they now had more information to work with.
That second note, it indicated a particular area.
Yes, it mentioned a body of water, and it was consistent, albeit not identical to the first note. It mentioned a body of water, and it gave a description of how we might get to it.
And both notes stated that Jón was dead, effectively.
Yeah, it didn't say that, but it would have indicated that something bad had happened to him and that he possibly was buried in this area.
How unusual is it for you, you know, working in a detective unit like that, a crime unit, to get a tip or to get indications like that from the general public?
Yeah, it's probably unusual. Certainly in my career, I haven't come across it before.
The person who wrote both notes clearly gave themselves a deadline, in that they sent in the second note exactly 1 year after they'd sent in the first. Presumably once they saw Gardaí had taken no action on the tip-off in their first note. They then made sure someone else became aware of the information. A priest. All of this shows they really wanted to make sure their message got through to Gardaí, and that something would happen.
Given the notes were received into the Garda station and priest's house in Ballymun, not far from where Jón was last seen, the author of the notes most likely lives, works or knows the local area. The combination of these two anonymous notes, indicating Jón had come to harm and was buried in a nearby park, was significant to Gardaí, and it changed how they were now treating the case. Would it be fair to say that Garda Síochána's approach is more in line with a criminal investigation than it is missing persons?
Oh, absolutely. At the start, as any disappearance of anybody, without anything to suggest foul play, it is treated as a missing persons investigation. But yes, you would be right. It is being treated as if something has happened, John. Obviously, we can't definitively say, but we are treating it now, and certainly since we received these anonymous letters, that it could be of a criminal nature, and everything we are doing in relation to the investigation is one of a criminal investigation.
This is what Jón's family had waited so long to hear, to be believed that something happened to Jón. Gardaí now tried to see if the author of the two anonymous notes had left behind any clues that might identify them.
Yeah, I suppose at that stage then we assessed both notes. We sent them off for forensic analysis, given up to Garda headquarters, where it was examined for fingerprints and DNA. I suppose with a hope that the author might have been a bit sloppy and that we might be able to track them down that way. That wasn't the case, and both came back with a negative result for both.
Gardaí treated these two notes as a strong indication they were now likely dealing with a murder.
Just, I guess, so I'm clear, what are the extra powers that kind of come into play in a murder inquiry that aren't available to you in a missing persons case?
Even for searches, we have to have reasonable belief that something occurred to carry out searches. A murder investigation would provide us with various powers like that. The power of arrest, even the power of questioning, that would all come into play in a murder investigation. But in that scenario, you'd hope that we'd have suspects if there was a murder investigation. But yes, it would give us extra powers, but it's not that we're hampered at present regarding powers. We are carrying out all our inquiries in relation to a missing person investigation. To date, we haven't been hampered due to lack of powers or anything like that.
It was in February 2024, the day before the 5th anniversary of Jón's disappearance, that Garda informed Jón's siblings about the 2 anonymous notes and that a search was about to commence. They needed to tell all the family immediately, including their mother, Hannah.
In that time, I was like very calm, but shaking, and just, I wasn't here, I wasn't there, I was nowhere. I was like, what, you know, like, I understood what she was saying. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was not surprised.
Jón's ex-wife Nina felt shocked.
It stirred up feelings like when he went missing, and the only thought that crossed my mind is that I have to go home to the girls and make them not watch the news, because I didn't want to see them read it and couldn't explain or anything. This was how I felt when he disappeared and when I told them, and then again when it came on the news like 2020, it's always the first. I have to get to the girls before they read anything. So I got a little déjà vu.
Jón's daughters, Helena and Julia, reacted in different ways.
Some things we were like, oh, this all over again. And then some things were like, okay, but we have something new. But yeah.
I find it not similar because when it first happened, the police wasn't really involved. They didn't believe that something happened. They only believed that he went away. But we already knew that wasn't true. But now they kind of believe that something might have happened.
When you hear that there's a note saying that he's buried somewhere, it's not shocking, the idea that somebody murdered him.
It is a bit shocking because, I mean, like, as the person he was to, like, the whole family, to us as his daughters, that he doesn't sound like the person he's a very rational person, a very, like, a mature person. And he doesn't seem like the person who would stir up trouble easily, or just in general. I don't know, it's hard to think that someone really disliked him that much or hated him even to bury him somewhere. But, I mean, if someone did, we just want the answers.
The day after Jón's brother and sister met with the new Garda investigative team, a press conference was held in Ballymun Garda station with most Irish media in attendance, as well as a news crew from RÚV's Kastljós.
February 9th, 2024, 5 years to the day since Jón was last seen, and his story was now back in the limelight.
Good morning. Garda in Ballymun are renewing their appeal for public assistance in relation to tracing the whereabouts of John Johnson. John, who is from Iceland, was 41 years of age when he was last seen in the Whitehall area at approximately 11 a.m. on the 9th of February 2019. That's actually 5 years today. I want to highlight that during the course of the investigation team have received 2 items of anonymous correspondence, and the contents of which have been assessed. The Garda investigation
David, Jón's brother, also spoke directly to the media, none of whom knew that in just a few days' time, a search by Gardaí, divers and cadaver dogs would take place for Jón's remains in a nearby park just 2 kilometres from here.
I would really like to underline the importance of what has just been said and how important it is to Jón's family in whole that the investigation keeps going on and people with any knowledge stepping forward with any information they might have. Also, I would like to, on behalf of the family, give...
Anna Hildur and David debated on going home or staying for the search, due to begin the following Tuesday in 4 days' time. In the end, they decided it was best to head back to Iceland, as they'd initially planned, to be with their families and wait.
Okay, we are home on Monday, me and David, which are not used to traveling together, but we had a big trip of success and, you know, everything that happened. And then we knew that you know, the media and the news and the Kastljós, so pressure, stress.
I had also returned to Iceland as planned, which left Liam back at the site of the search on his own. He was the only member of the media present when the search started out, because of course no one outside of Garda and Jón's family was aware of what was about to go down.
The search location was in Santry Domain, not far from where Jón was last seen. It's a public park of well over 100 acres. Also known as Santry Woods, it has many old trees and areas of brush and scrub and a small lake.
The day before the search, we set up a WhatsApp group for all the family, so Liam could provide updates as the search progressed.
Morning everyone. Search started about 10:30 a.m. Low key. About 10 Gardaí here, including divers from the Garda sub-aqua unit. They're currently searching the lake and parts of the small island.
Thank you.
Good morning, Liam. Thank you for the updates. Can you send us the location on a map, please, to understand how far this is from where he was last seen?
If you click the photo, you can see the lake at the top of the map.
If I remember correctly, this park was searched, but obviously not the lake, since we didn't have divers. Santry. I remember this name from when we were organizing the search.
So it's about 11:30 now on Tuesday morning, the 13th of February. I'm here in Santry Domain. So at the moment they're hoping the search will take about 2 days, but of course it's unclear. They might find something, they might find nothing. It's a kind of a waiting game really, and Jón's family they're all waiting to see what happens today. It's been 5 years and 4 days now, is it? And obviously they're hoping for some news. So we'll just have to see how the day goes. 1 p.m. Hey everyone. So the search has been paused for today. It'll resume at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. There was a search of a small island on the lake, nothing found. But Gardaí think they'll need to cut down the growth across the island and search again, followed by an underwater search also. So today's search feels like the start of a process that may go on for a while yet. Not fully clear for now. The reason they paused the search just now is because the dog handler was moving on to search an area around the lake, and he requested that the public and their dogs be kept away from the areas he's going to search next. So Gardaí need to get things sorted, close off public access, and they'll have to draft in some extra Gardaí to keep the public out. We'll check in again tomorrow morning when things resume. Liam.
Thank you for keeping us informed. Hopefully something will come out of the search.
Waiting for any news from the search felt agonizing for all of Jón's loved ones. Hanna, Jón's mother, felt numb and restless.
Wow. I was paralyzed, actually. I did not want to go anywhere. I mean, I was between sleep and wake. I couldn't sleep. I was not good waking. I was like restless. I was afraid of phone call, because even if you are waiting for news, you want to have some answer. It's scary too. It's somewhere between you want to have the phone call and you don't want to have the phone call, you know. But I carry the phone with me everywhere. So it was a very strange week.
Was this search going to uncover anything? Where will this story end? Join us in our 7th and final episode as we go behind the scenes of the search and wait with Jón's family as they wait for any news.
And having called out for tips since this series began, listeners in both Iceland and Ireland start to reach out to us with what appears to be significant information.
Hi, just thought I would email you, as I remember in and around that time seeing a guy who I thought was possibly young, but as time went on, it had left my head until today when I was listening to your podcast, and it brought me back to that time, and I thought myself I'll definitely get in touch.
If you have any knowledge or information about Jón Jónsson, please contact your local police station or email us documentaries@rte.ie,
eða á hvarerjón@ruv.is.
or you can submit an anonymous tip on our website rte.ie/whereisjón,
eða ruv.is/hvarerjón.
Where is Jón is written and produced by me, Liam O'Brien.
And me, Anna Marcibel Clausen.
The music is composed and performed by me, Úlfur Eldjárn, with special guest Unnur Jónsdóttir on cello.
And sound design is by me, Peadar Carney.
If you've been affected by any issues raised in this episode, please visit rte.ie/helplines.
Við bendum þeim sem kunna að eiga sárt að binda á hjálparsíma Rauða krossins 1717. Until next time, thanks for listening.